so glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to keep more of what you make. Follow me at facebook.com/Clark Howard. Our new web address, clark.com. When you have a question for me, clark.com/ask. Coming up in 20 minutes, I want to tell you how iTunes gift cards are becoming central to ways that people are stealing money from you. I'm going to tell you what you need to know if you live in the Apple world. And a half hour from now, there's a new potential solution that may help you when you hit a financial hard spot in your life. I'm going to tell you how some places we work even are stepping up to help people that are in a financial tough place. I want to give you a key tip for when you shop online. This is something I have experienced myself lately, and in the desperation of retailers to boost their sales, there's an unethical practice that is growing. And what you need to know is that when you go to check out at an online retailer, especially if you're doing so on your phone, where you might be distracted, you might be doing multiple things, look very, very closely at what your checkout shows, because the practice involves putting things in your basket that you didn't select. And I've had this happen at 2 different online sellers lately. And so I am like a hawk now when I go to check out somewhere. I want to make sure everything is as it is. Another thing I want you to know that I saw there's a British website that talks about dirty dealings on e-commerce sites called darkpatterns.org. Another new thing is signing you up for mailing lists without your knowledge. It's just automatically checked that you're getting mailing lists. The only place I've noticed it frequently is with e-commerce travel sites. So I want you to know this kind of stuff, these shenanigans, before you click to purchase something. Look at what else might be checked as a box so that you can stay out of harm's way. And in the hotel business, this is one we talked about as a staff. The new thing now with hotel booking sites is they say, rooms going fast. Only 3 rooms left of this hotel. 1 room, 4 rooms. It's just a marketing gimmick. Because you look at other sites, and they don't show there's only 1 room left or 3 or whatever. So don't let them create that false sense of urgency that you spend money when you should take your time to shop around. Ron is with us. Ron, you're in a little bit of a mess with a car. Tell me the story if you could.
I was married, and then about a year ago, we got a divorce. And
I'm sorry, you holding up okay?
Yeah, we're doing all right.
Okay.
It actually worked out a little better that way. But we have 2 auto loans, and our names are on each one, but both of our names. And hers is the more expensive one. It's $14,000, and she's not making her payments now. And so the bank reported it to the credit, and now it's on my record. And I wanted to know.
All right, let me tell you, it can get much worse than that. So she's still in possession of the car?
Yes.
All right. How well are you able to communicate with her? Can the 2 of you have civil conversations with each other?
Yes, we can.
All right. So let me tell you the worst scenario, and then we'll move forward from that.
Okay.
Because you need to know the consequences of this can be much worse than late pays on your credit.
Okay.
So if she keeps not paying and the car gets repossessed, your credit and hers are demolished for 7 years, what's known as a voluntary or involuntary repo on your credit. It puts you in a just horrendous penalty box. And in most states, the lender turns around, sells the car at auction, takes, let's say, $14,000 owed on it, Let's say they get 6 for it. Guess who then is on the hook for the 8 that they lose?
Yeah.
That's right. So your credit's ruined for 7 years, and you still end up paying for the car anyway. So,
oh wow.
So this is like all hands on deck, not screaming at her, yelling at her, whatever. You need her cooperation. Both of you are on the title for this and the note for this. So if she cannot make the payments, is there other money through your divorce decree that you owe her that you can instead substitute taking over her car payments?
No, there's not.
So you were both trying to be just go have a nice life. We're done with each other.
Yes. I mean, it was pretty much a clean split.
No kids together?
Yeah, we have one child together, but there's no child support or nothing like that that's going out.
All right. Because if you have to, you're going to resent me saying it. You're going to resent doing it. But if you can afford it, if she's not making the payments, you got to. Because this is one of those things. You are going to be harmed so much financially either way, but much worse if the car is repoed. Have you been able to have a civil conversation with her about this?
Yes, we talked about it. She said that she's in a hard place right now. She took a job where she got $6 more an hour on top of what she paid, and she moved closer to work so she can save money, and I really don't know what's going on there, but we spoke about it, and she's saying that she's just behind because she got a DUI a month ago, so now she has to pay for those fees.
Oh, man.
But she'll pay her Macy's credit card and all these other things, but she let the car go.
All right. Now,
late.
Macy's is a wonderful store and all that, but that's a low priority to pay that Macy's bill, and paying the car loan is the highest priority, because then she's got no wheels to get to work, and the credit harm to both of you and the financial harm is so magnified when it involves a car. See if you can have another conversation with her. Even ask her if she doesn't mind calling into my show and letting me talk to her about it. But in whatever way you can, you need to see your way to getting that payment current and have as many conversations. You're legally allowed to, because you're on the note. You need to have continuous conversations with the lender, because let me tell you, they don't want the car, and you don't want them to take that car.
Okay.
How many months behind is she right now?
So she's about 2 months behind.
All right, they're going to come take that car soon. You got to get all over this. And no matter how frustrated you get or angry you are, put your fist through a wall later if you have to, but do not holler at her, because this is a case that that the two of you need to cooperate with each other, and even consider going to credit counseling to try to save that car. You know, you can go to nfcc.org and see if you can find your way to a counselor. Usually that's free to sit down and get guidance and advice, because I'm telling you, you don't want the hassle that comes with having that car taken. Your car, is it cheaper? You said it's cheaper than hers, but you're both on it?
Yeah.
Would she consider switching cars with you?
Well, the thing is I've been remarried, so I got a wife and I got 3 children, so my vehicle sits all of us. Hers only sits 4.
Okay.
So it wouldn't fit my family right now.
All right.
And for the last 4 years, have went from, because I used to mess up a lot, and I got everything fixed on my credit. Everything is back to where it should be. Everything that I owed, I paid people off and got it removed. And then this happened. That's
why you know how hard it is to dig out. Even if you need to write those 2 checks for those 2 missing months, scrounge together the money. You know, in this case, you're not going to believe what I'm about to say. You even take out a cash advance on a credit card to keep that car from being repoed. That's how serious it is.
Okay.
But get her on the phone. Sounds like she needs counseling otherwise in her life.
Yeah.
Sounds like she's got a lot of issues going on.
That's very true.
So best to you, and truly stay calm when you're talking to her. Cindy is with us. Hello, Cindy. How are you doing?
I'm great, Clark. How are you today?
Good, thank you. Cindy, what's going on with you?
Well, my husband and I have worked very hard, and we last year paid off 2 credit cards, and I'm wondering about the impact on my credit report if I close those accounts, because we'll never use them again.
Don't close the accounts. Let me tell you why, Cindy.
Okay.
If you close an account, that has the effect of lowering your credit score, because this is crazy to know, but would you believe that 1/3 approximately of your credit score is based on how much of your available credit you're using? So if you close these accounts, what kind of credit limit did each have?
One was $15,600 and one was $25,000.
Okay. What that would do immediately is it would lower the total amount of available credit you have by $40,000, which would change what's known as your ratios. That's the percent of your available credit you're using. So these cards have an annual fee or don't have an annual fee?
They don't right now, but I'm worried about those convenience fees coming along.
Yeah, you know, if somebody does come along and say, well, now we're going to charge you an annual fee on these cards, what I would like you to do is what I call leapfrog them. They have to give you 45 days notice that they're going to do something like impose an annual fee on a card that's been free of annual fee. That gives you enough time before you would say, well, fine, I'm closing my account, to then go apply for a new card elsewhere on a no annual fee card. Because what you want to do is you want to keep an active mix of a handful of credit cards. You would not want to, even in react to a new annual fee, close the account, because, again, the effect it would have on lowering your score.
Well, I still have other credit cards. I have one that I pay off every month. I have one more that I still need to pay off to the tune of $9,500, and I have another small one that I pay off each month.
That what you just told me leads me even more strenuously to object to you closing those accounts.
Even if
or put it in a positive way. It would be even more important for you to keep those accounts open, because of you telling me about the $9,500 balance on another existing account. So if the time comes that you do end up with somebody trying to slap you with an annual fee, then a new strategy at that point. But for now, please keep those open. And Joel, tell me what we have right now on Ask Clark.
Clark, this one's from Mel, who says, Clark, you've talked about what records need to be kept for a number of years and those that should be kept forever. Is that list posted somewhere?
On Clark.com, where you posted your Ask Clark. You can just do a simple search term for record keeping in our search box on Clark.com, and you'll see our guide. And basic thing about this, you want to keep your actual tax returns forever. Your documentation for your tax returns for 7 years. So the reason is that the IRS, if they ever allege that you failed to file long ago, they can eat you up. So having a copy of your old return, very important. Although saying that you grossly underreported income and all that you only need the last 7 years to document income. Certain contracts you need to keep forever. Certain real estate records you need to keep forever. I've got the list for you so you can go through, see what you keep, what you get rid of, so you don't end up with piles of paper everywhere. Today's Clark-rageous moment is about the quick-moving scams that come and eat up your wallet. I want to tell you about one that is ugly, 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 involving iTunes gift cards. It's today's Clark-rageous moment.
Scams, rip-offs, outrages. It's a Clark-rageous moment.
People seem to be learning more about the prepaid cards that a lot of the scammers are trying to con you into going to Walmart or a drugstore and getting a stored value of prepaid card and then reading them the information off the card, and then they loot the card. Well, now criminals have moved on. According to the Federal Trade Commission, there's been a real spike in complaints related to iTunes gift cards. So what people are doing, the scammers, are convincing you in any of a number of scams, including those that involve debt collectors and people who are doing the thing where they say there's a family emergency. They're saying that you can bail them out or deal with the problem you have with the debt collector by buying an iTunes gift card. And people are doing it. This is a terrible problem. In fact, more than one federal agency is putting out an alert about this. The IRS is now put out an alert. Any call requesting taxpayers place funds on an iTunes gift card to pay taxes or fees is an indicator of fraudulent activity. Couldn't they just say they're ripping you off? Know that anybody who says, hey, you owe me money, you need to do this, you need to do that, go buy an iTunes gift card. Okay, now you got it. All right, give me this, give me that. All they're doing is it's another way to steal your money. Make sure this is something any family member who has an iPhone or has an iPad, that they're aware that this is a hot scam of the moment. I'm glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where you learn ways to save more and spend less, and don't let anybody ever rip you off. Follow me at facebook.com/Clark Howard. On the web, clark.com. When you have a question, clark.com/ask. Big fuss in Washington right now. New proposed rules that would make it much tougher for you to be ripped off with those scuzzy, disgusting, terrible, awful, rotten payday loans. And there's going to be a lot of pushing and shoving in Washington about whether the new rules will go into effect. But there is no doubt that payday loans have caused enormous harm to Americans who've taken them out. And we're not talking about something that happens to one or two people. More than 10 million people get ripped off by payday loans of typically 390 to 800% interest. I want you to think about that number. Take out a car loan at 1, 2, 3, 5%, mortgage 3, 4, 5%. You take out a payday loan at 390% or more. They are real pain for your future. They are just awful, awful things. A lot of employers are suffering because their workers end up with all kinds of distractions. Their morale goes down. Their lack of focus goes up. And I saw an item in the Wall Street Journal that more and more employers are now offering emergency loans to their employees so that they won't end up in financial quicksand from the scum of the payday lenders. It's an unusual benefit from an employer. And there are even organizations setting up, one that I've mentioned in the past, Cashable, that has a system where employers can make emergency loans available to the employee at a much more reasonable rate of interest, but the employer is not on the hook for the loan if the employee ends up defaulting on it. And there are many people starting up programs like this. Another area where employees are getting into distress is 1 in 5 employees who have a 401k at work have an outstanding loan against their 401k account. There are very, 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 very rare circumstances where borrowing from your 401k account would be a good idea But I mean extremely obscure and rare where that would make sense. On the scale of things, though, borrowing from a 401k beats a payday loan. Let's say this year, 366 days. All 366 days, it's a better idea to borrow from a 401k than it would be to take out a payday loan. Let's see. Would it be better to jump off a cliff or take out a payday loan? Those are equal. I mean, really, if you are in financial distress, the answer to the question of how to deal with the financial distress is never, not ever take out a payday loan. And employers, you can be creative in this area to help your employees with the new unusual services that are popping up that allow you to make loans available at rates as low as 5%, not 390%, and help your employee over an emergency situation. And we're speaking now with Joseph. Joseph, how are you doing?
Good, Clark. How are you?
Great. So you are a writer.
Well, I don't know if I'd put myself in that company. I have written something.
Well, congratulations to you, because being an author is a really fantastic thing.
Well, my family and I are very, very excited. It's a very exciting time for us. And I got to tell you that my family and I have both been a big fan of your show for a long time. And
thank you.
This is the first time I've ever called in, and it's such an odd kind of occurrence. Not many people have this happen to them in their life. I wanted to pick your brain,
okay,
as the guru you are, and kind of ask you a couple of questions. We've signed a publishing contract for a book that I've written.
So a publisher wanted you and paid you money for your book?
Yes.
Well, then you are quite an author. If this is your first time book, it is such a hard thing to get a publishing house to look at you and want to pay you money. So you must have written something outstanding.
It's been quite a journey. I've learned the publishing industry, and I've learned a lot about just kind of dealing, the ins and outs of publishing. I had an agent, fired them, and then wound up doing it. Wound up contacting the publisher myself on my own behalf. It worked out better for me that way. And long story short, they are paying me in advance. And our question is, mine and my wife's, is this. We're thinking about setting up an LLC, because I know that any monies that I get off of this, the government is just going to eat us alive on. And I want to be able to protect those monies. But also, another part to this is that, as you well know, it's promotion of the book. And so I've taken on extra work of teaching online. The idea here, and I was just wondering if this is going to be doable, or if this is what I should do, along with the monies that I get from the book, from the advance and all that sort of thing, taking the monies that I make while teaching online and putting that kind of like into a war chest, do things for like promotion and all that sort of thing, because as you know, publishers don't pay for everything.
Right.
And even doing travel and all that sort of thing, I think a lot of people have this idea that, they're just going to whine you.
All right. Well, let me tell you something. The primary reason for forming the LLC is to protect you from the possibility that someone would sue you based on the advice you give in the book or the topic of the book. Are you writing about something that somebody might fire back at you and say you ruined their lives or whatever? Are you at risk on a liability scale or not really?
Yeah.
You are at risk?
It's a memoir.
Okay. Then you definitely would want to form an LLC.
Okay.
And there's a nice guide to it if you want to see what's all involved with an LLC, how you form one and all that. Nolo.com, NOLO.com will walk
Nolo.com, okay.
And there's a section explaining LLCs. There are articles about how you would decide whether you want to be an LLC or what's known as an S Corp.
Okay.
Likely you'd want to be an LLC. And the second thing is that everything you do, anything you ever sign, and if it's possible, the contract with the publisher should be with your LLC.
Right.
So the entity that anybody is going after is an LLC, which would only have the assets in it of whatever revenue it has generated.
Okay.
And if you don't have a tax expert, a CPA yet, you want to have a CPA who does tax, who does business work.
Yeah, we've been referred to a couple, and we're getting ready. All of this has newly happened.
Great. So get flying on this. I also want to tell you about another site. Congratulations again. It is a site called LegalZoom.com.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
LegalZoom is a very easy place for you to set up your LLC if that, in fact, does turn out to be the right process of you shielding yourself from liability. And I hope you sell a ton of books. Paul is with us. Hello, Paul. How are you?
Hey, Clark. Thanks so much for getting my call.
Sure.
I'm glad to finally be able to ask you this question. So my family has accumulated approximately, let's say, $50,000 in credit card debt over the last few years among different carriers. And what I would like to know is there a way, because we're finally in a position where we can pay these off in a big way in the next 2 years, can I negotiate payoffs without hurting my credit? Like, can I tell Visa, hey, I want to give you $10,000 instead of the $20,000 I owe as a payoff without hurting my credit?
No, you can negotiate, but you will hurt your credit.
Okay.
And not only will you hurt your credit, but let me tell you the bonus question. Let's take your example of a $20,000 bill. You pay 10, they write off 10. The IRS taxes you on the $10,000 that they write off.
As earned income?
Right. It's what's known as phantom income. So whatever your tax rate is, you end up paying. So it's the time that someone should negotiate for cents on the dollar is when you're already past too late about your credit. You're not having a lot of income, so that even if you are taxed on it, it's not going to amount to a lot of money. And if you're in a position where you can do like a 24-month plan and pay everybody off, I think it's better to do that because it preserves your credit standing. And think about what you will have accomplished in your life if you go from owing $50,000 in credit card debt down to zero. I mean, that's going to be one happy day when that goes to being zeroed out, isn't it?
Oh yeah, we're going to Disneyland. Thanks a lot, Clark.
Sure. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Greg is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Greg?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry that you lost a loved one, because I know when I got a call about an inheritance, the other side of that coin was you lost someone you loved.
Yes, we did. I appreciate that.
How can I be of service with your inheritance?
Well, I've got things pretty much in order, so I wanted to put this toward our retirement, myself and my wife, by maxing out both our Roths each year and having the rest managed. So I met with a financial advisor, and they do fee-only money management, where basically you start an account and they invest for you either in a Roth and outside of that. The cost for that was 1.25% of whatever they're managing for you. And then I was also looking at target retirement funds and trying to figure out what was the most cost-effective way or the best idea to basically invest this in a Roth.
Well, we're not talking apples and oranges here. We're talking apples and, I don't know, something completely different, not even from the fruit family. When you start talking about target retirement funds as a way to put money in, and then on the other hand, paying a financial advisor 1.25% of whatever money is on deposit with them each year as a fee. Because with a target retirement fund, what you're doing is in the fund itself, you're paying a fee for a manager based on your age and likely retirement to continually change the mix of investments for you. And you just put it on automatic pilot by picking a year. How old are you?
34.
34. So 30 years from now, so we're looking at, like, let's just say, rounding numbers, 2040 fund for you. Okay. And so going into a 2040 fund, today it would be diversified with a higher level of short-term risk, but also a higher level of potential gain over the years. And then as we hit like the 2030s and beyond, it would be very heavily tilted towards conservative choices. So that's just automatic pilot. Nobody's hands-on with your money specifically. The hands-on is with the mix of investments that go into a 2040 fund. And that would be a much cheaper option for you versus paying 1.25%. Paying somebody that fee is more based on having money that meets objectives that would be shorter term than, let's say, 3 decades from now.
I see.
And so things you're trying to accomplish, let's say by the time you're 50 years old or whatever, and you give that individual money to be able to do that with. But for you, you're married, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So do either of you have a 401k plan at work?
No.
So are you self-employed?
No.
So you both work for smaller businesses, neither of which give any kind of retirement plan at work.
Yes, that's right.
Right. See, the disadvantage of that is you would be able to sock away a huge amount of your inheritance pretty quickly if you had an employer-provided plan or you were self-employed. So in this case, you're capped at the $5,500 each. Right. I would look at a goal being that every year moving forward, you set up, if you're going to take a pile of money and put it with the financial advisor, that every year on January 1, you move another $11,000 over into your Roth accounts, and that your investment horizon with the money you would have outside of a Roth would be a 10-year horizon, because your goal would be to transition all of that money over in a 10-year period into Roths.
Right. Okay.
So you could, in that case, you would have the amount of money being managed by the outsider would steadily shrink over time.
Okay.
So did that make sense?
It does. Is a 2040 fund a target retirement fund, or is that something else?
Yeah, that's a target retirement fund, year 2040, based on your age.
I see. Okay, and it would be much cheaper than
the 1.25%.
Right. Okay.
So, I mean, that's a thought. Or if you felt you had so much faith in this individual you were talking to that you would rather have them handle your Roth accounts, that's fine. Just know you're paying about 3 or 4 times the freight in fees per year for them to handle your Roth versus you going into like a Vanguard target retirement fund. And again, I'm sorry about your loss. You have a question for me? We offer so many ways for you to get it answered. Off-air advice available for free 9 hours a day. You can post a question. You can call in. And Joel, tell me what we have right now on Ask Clark.
Yeah, Clark, Jackie wrote in and she said, I'm interested in taking online surveys. Are there any reputable companies where I can actually make some money doing it?
Got to be very careful with anything you're doing in your spare time. Surveys are an area that there's both some amount of legit work, but mostly people that are trying to scam you. We continually update at the very place you posted your question on Clark.com. We have a briefing we call Legitimate Work from Home Opportunities. And you can read the various ones we have, including those that involve doing surveys, and see what ways you might be able to score money that would fit your situation, your experience, your education skill level, all those things. If you look at our Legitimate Work from Home Opportunities guide on Clark.com, it is one of our most searched topics each week on Clark.com. And I appreciate your questions. You have one for me? Post and Ask Clark.
You know, when you're going to buy a car, pricing information is great and necessary. But there's more to doing it than just the price. There's the actual buying experience. If you want to enjoy a better one, you should go to a True Car certified dealer. They're there to help you find the car that you want, and they're also what make True Car unique. With True Car, you can connect with a local certified dealer that you choose, so you can lock in a guaranteed savings off the MSRP and enjoy a totally better buying experience. And by better, they also mean faster. Over 2 million cars have already been sold to True Car users who have visited their True Car certified dealer. And there are over 11,000 TrueCar certified dealers nationwide, so it's probably pretty easy to find one near you. And check this. For a new car, average TrueCar users save $3,279 off MSRP. All right, so you're probably wondering, how do I do this? It's easy. Just go to TrueCar.com or, right there on your phone, download the TrueCar app. You can find the car you want, see the TrueCar pricing curve, which shows you what other people in your area paid for the same car, and that way you can know you're getting a good price and feel confident. Then you'll get a guaranteed savings certificate from the TrueCar certified dealer. Go to the dealer, and your guaranteed savings off MSRP will be honored, and you enjoy a quick, easy experience. How's that for car buying? So when you're ready to buy a new car, or even a used one, visit TrueCar.com or download the TrueCar app and enjoy the better car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states.
Welcome to the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to save more and spend less, and don't let anybody ever rip you off. Follow me at Facebook.com/Clark Howard. Our web address, Clark.com. When you have a question, Clark.com/ask. Coming up in a half hour, it's been really, really difficult for small businesses to get money lately and get personalized attention. But I want to tell you, that is changing for the good right now. I want to tell you what you need to know if you are entrepreneurial, you're a small business person, all the opportunity that's available for you for the fuel for your business, the funds you need. I want to talk right now about something that I am ecstatic is breaking through as an industry, and it's the ability for you to do counseling or therapy over like a tablet or a computer where you're having a video conference. A lot of people live in areas where maybe you're not near where a therapist may be available, or you're worried, you live in a smaller town, you're worried about talking to somebody where everybody knows everybody, or any of a number of reasons why you might want to do this, doing it where instead of going in person, maybe it's just time involved. And it's an area that is not without controversy. There are people who believe that it would be better to do something where it's only in person. But one of the sources for this is Talkspace.com, where you can get matched with a therapist and you can do therapy right away. For people who would like to do messaging, you can actually do messaging therapy, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I'm not a head doctor, so I can't speak to that. But making services more available, where when you have issues going on, a lot of them that are things that someone could really be helpful with, people aren't seeking help because it's too inconvenient, you don't know where to go, you're reluctant. And being able to do it electronically, I think, is a great alternative. And in addition to the one I've talked about before with you, I want to mention Amwell, that is doing both that and a thing that I'm very fascinated by. Amwell, which is AMWELL.com, is doing a thing where you can have a regular doctor that you only do virtual visits with. To this point, all the attempts of doing any kind of electronic kind of connection to a doctor or a nurse or anything like that, the person never knows anything about you. It's like a snapshot at that moment. Oh, I got this problem with my ear. What should I do? Or whatever. But what they're trying to do, and I don't know that it'll succeed, is create an ongoing electronic relationship with a medical doctor, where that doctor knows your backstory, knows your history, and you do an electronic visit with the doctor. Insurance companies are becoming more open to this, paying for visits for this kind of thing. And for a doctor, it is an opportunity for a doctor to work from his or her own home instead of working necessarily from a traditional practice. I think these things provide real possibilities, but most of all, I'm very intrigued by and, well, I'm excited about the idea of making therapy for people more readily available. Mary is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Clark. Thanks for taking my call.
Certainly.
We have two cars. We have a 2008 car that has 85,000 miles on it, and we bought it new. And we have a 2004 car with 230,000 miles that we bought used. We want to know, actually my husband really wants to know which one we should trade in, because even though the high mileage car has been very reliable, I'm just concerned with two kids that have grandchildren 6 hours away that, we don't want to take a car that far that might break down. So
the car from 2004 basically has no cost to you to keep it.
Right.
So you could keep that car, and the cost of operating it is about nothing. It's fully depreciated out.
Uh-huh.
And the car that's an 08 with 85,000 miles on it, it's got a lot of room to run as well. May I suggest to you that you don't need to ditch either of these cars?
Yeah.
And as an alternative, when you do go visit the grandkids, you rent a car for that trip.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because when you think about what it costs if you dump one of these vehicles and you replace it with a new one or a newer one, you're creating a significant cost per month equivalent for that new vehicle. On the other hand, how many times a year do you go visit the grandkids?
Sometimes twice a month I do some babysitting.
Oh, well then you could take the 08 car when you go do that.
Well, and that's what I do when I take it, but, being young kids, they always have construction projects, and we have to take more equipment, and I stay longer to babysit, and so then we take both cars, and that just kind of upsets me that, he's on the road with the high-mile cars. And
I understand that. A 250,000 miles, that's starting to get to be some serious miles on a car. You've obviously kept it 10 years or longer. If you were telling me you go visit the grandkids half a dozen times a year, then renting a car, like I suggested, would absolutely be the right thing to do. But if you're going 25 times a year, then maybe that's bad advice from me. And it would make sense to replace the 04 with a newer vehicle.
Oh, all righty. Well,
but I can't see the reason to dump the 08 because 85,000 miles is not a lot on a car.
No, right. I agree. And we bought it new, and I know it's reliable. And, yeah, I kind of wanted to keep that one. And our financial advisor told us that we could, trade the 2004 a few years ago, but we hung on to it, and I use it in town for town travel. In the city, rather, I should say.
But if you need a second car to go those longer distances, buying a newer used car, we went through several years that used cars weren't really making sense to buy. Now they do again. And you might find a very decent deal on like a 3 or 4 year old car that allows you to freshen up.
Okay, can I ask you another question?
What's that?
It's the same, along the same line. One of the children just had their third child, which means we need 3 car seats. What car would you recommend?
For 3 car seats?
Yeah.
Well, if you're looking for something do you need it to be 4-wheel drive, or is that?
Well, I would kind of like an all-wheel drive for sure.
Okay.
Because, we're still traveling the 6 hours to get there. And
what brands have you been happiest with over the years?
I loved my CRV Honda.
Then why don't you get another CRV? They've been very, very, very reliable cars. Consumer Reports has loved them. You'd have the room for the 3 car seats, and you'd have the 4-wheel drive. You'd have the higher point of view.
Uh-huh. All righty.
So you know that's a car you've loved. It's familiar to you. I would go with the same thing. How about that? Was that good advice for you?
That's good for me.
All right. Our number is 877-87-CLARK. Ed is with us. Hello, Ed. Welcome to the Clark Howard Show.
Thank you for taking my call, Clark.
Certainly. You did something I wish everyone would do. You pulled your credit report.
Yeah, I did listen to your show. So my wife and I are in the process of building a home, and we're about a good year or so down the line. So I decided to follow your advice and double check our credit, because my wife and I have excellent credit and we work hard to maintain that. But I found something on my credit report, and that was a cable company, national cable company, saying that I owed them a whole bunch of money. Well, I've never been a customer of that cable provider.
All right, that is really good to your advantage. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because if you had been a customer of theirs and there was any kind of billing dispute, it gets into a he said, she said. But in a case where you were never a customer and they're showing you with a defaulted debt, that's the easiest kind of error to get corrected.
Okay, well, that's why I called. I've made a few steps, and I just wanted to see if I made all the right steps.
Have you, first of all, this cable operator, do they provide service in the territory where you live?
Yes, they do. We have recently moved, and they provide service in both the area where I used to live and the area where I live now.
All right. So have you done a dispute yet with the credit bureau saying that this is an error, that you were never a customer of this company?
I did. I did it through their online service, and they sent back an acknowledgement that it's under review.
All right. So at the same time, all they do during that review is they send it on to the cable company, and whatever the cable company says, they say okay. So they don't pay any attention to anything you say. They only pay attention to the cable company. Okay. So at the same time that you have a 30-day dispute window open, you need to contact the cable operator themselves and say, there's some error here. You're showing me as someone who owes you money. I was never your customer.
Okay, and then would I just call customer service to get that billing address to mail something to them?
No, you want to call them.
Okay.
You want to call customer no service at the cable company, tell them what's going on, and see if you make any progress. Now, with the cable companies, there are 2 additional strategies that work. One of them I had to use. I had a dispute with a cable company at a rental property, and I filed a complaint with the Better Business Bureau, and where nothing else had worked, the complaint filed with the Better Business Bureau did get me to a department that resolved the problem for me. Okay. And I can suggest that. The other thing is, if you're good on social media, if you start running into a brick wall with the cable company, start posting about them on social media, and that may get you a response from somebody who will actually look at it and say, oops, that wasn't you after all.
Well, what I did, Clark, is I called them up and I gave them my information, and they verified that I've not been a customer of theirs. But I guess that's probably not far enough. I mean, I'm assuming that's not far enough.
Well, you gotta, if you've done that step already, let's wait and see what happens with your 30-day dispute window with the credit bureau, and then you start pushing the buttons that we just talked about. And let me hear back how you do, Ed. Dick is with us on the Clark Howard Show. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Clark. A long-time listener, a first-time call.
Well, I'm glad to have you along.
I guess one of my pet peeves, I listen to these advertisements that says, you owe it. The government's got a new program that if you got over $10,000 in credit card debt, they're going to write it off, and you only have to pay part of it. And I know what your opinion of that is. My confusion is why are they advertising on your program?
Oh, man. You know, Dick, this has been a challenge for me in the internet world with our website and a challenge on the radio show. All right, now, we have, I don't know if you know how syndicated radio advertising
Yeah,
works.
it's probably local advertising, I'd imagine.
Well, it could be local. It is possible that it is a spot that is fed by my syndicator. And we have a process where they're supposed to, if there's an advertiser they're nervous about, the syndicator is supposed to run that by us, and we will, if we say, uh-oh, not that, we will tell them, and we turn the money away. But there's always going to be ads that slip through, and there's always going to be ads that possibly could appear on a local radio station that are things that would be horrific. But, you know, it's impossible for people in a local sales operation to know, hey, these people seem so nice. I can't believe they're ripping off people. So
I can't believe it. It really irks me that we owe them this, you owe them that. I don't think we owe anybody anything, but and it says if you owe over $10,000, the government's got structured. And by the way, it's only good in certain states, which tells me that some states are smart enough to tell you not they can't do it.
Well, you know, the thing with the ads that run, it's the same thing on my website where we put the warning up that there is no relationship that would in any way say, hey, because these people are there, I think they're okay. And it's such an important message that you have brought to the table. And I can't even tell you, Dick, because this comes up about, 7 or 8 times a year. Someone will call up and say, I can't believe this outrageous ad I just heard on your show or on your website or whatever. That bringing this up to give that heads up to people that, you know, that's kind of a freak show sometimes with what ends up advertised there. And you got to know that there is no endorsement. You know, I don't do them anyway, right?
Right. I knew you wouldn't, but I'm saying some poor soul listen to you say, well, he goes on Clark's advertising. He must think it's a good deal, you know?
But see what a service you've just done for people? Now, I should explain, Dick, I don't know if you've heard me explain. In talk radio, usually the lion's share of what a host makes is from doing endorsements, doing what are called paid reads.
Right.
I don't do those because it does not feel right to me with the format that I do. The one thing that I hope I give people is that I'm somebody you can trust.
Stay tuned for 60 seconds of AP News headlines right after this podcast.
I'm glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's all about you learning ways to keep more of what you make. Our new web address, clark.com, CLARK.com. When you have a question, clark.com/ask. You can follow me at facebook.com/Clark Howard. So I want to tell you that I am constantly talking to business owners who are giving me tales of woe about what they've been through with the bank. I'd say it's the number one thing I hear from entrepreneurs is the terrible, horrific stories they share with me about their frustrations with whatever bank they use. But I will tell you that there's a continuing theme, clear as could be, and that is these small business people, these startup people, these entrepreneurs are beating their heads against the wall by going to a big bank. Big banks do not have the culture to serve you as a small business person or an entrepreneur. They just don't. At the same time, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of small local banks that from the ground up are built specifically to serve you as an entrepreneur, a small business person. They actually want to know about you. They want to know you. And my thing is that if you own your own business, you should go in and at a small local bank, sit down with the president of the bank. the real president of the bank. It's a whole different thing than what the big banks do with their fake vice presidents titles, where they have like a zillion people with that title. So you always feel like you're talking to somebody very important at the bank. Baloney. You want to have a relationship with a community bank where they're trying to grow along with you. They make decisions a lot quicker than the giant monster mega banks. And not just those four, but even the next layer of big banks. They're just not there to serve your small business. They're just not. They want to know about you. And they'll make decisions about something you want to do, not just based on the financials you put in front of them. The other thing you've heard me talk about so much, and that is all the opportunities available for you as a small business to borrow now electronically, not from a bank. With many, many online lenders known generally as social finance lenders or fintech lenders that make money available with quick decisions, usually in under 10 minutes. Some of them charge ridiculous interest rates, but many charge very reasonable interest rates to you as a business. But don't ever, just because you can borrow money, doesn't mean you should. There's a rule I have with business. Unnatural growth is unnatural, which sounds trite and silly. But what I mean by it is that if you are an entrepreneur, you are a small business person, you have a tendency when things are, you got momentum, things are going, you're going to try to grow too quickly. Make sure your growth is truly organic, where you, by that, means you're growing at a pace that you can manage it, that you can hold up your service or product standards and serve people well. And I don't want you wasting all your time spinning your wheels with some big bank bureaucracy trying to borrow money when you need to be close to home with somebody who gets to know you, understands you, and wants you to succeed. Maria is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Maria?
Yes.
Hi, you've been trying to refinance your mortgage for a good while, and you just can't seem to get anywhere.
Yes, that's true.
Are you upside down in your loan, or do you have credit issues?
No, I'm not upside down. It's actually positive. It's worth more than I owe. What I wanted to do is I wanted to refinance with the same bank. It's one of the big banks.
Oh, no, you don't want to refinance with one of the big banks.
Okay.
Because with the big banks, what happens is when you do a refi with the big banks, you have to start all over. You know, it's not like because you were with them already that you have some kind of expedited refinance. It doesn't play that way. You have to start as if you've never been a customer of that bank. And the data shows that if you do a refi with one of the four giant monster mega banks, that your costs for doing a refi will be hugely higher than they'll be with other lenders. Much, much higher costs for all the paperwork involved, the closing costs, and usually a significantly higher interest rate as well if you go with one of the big four giant monster mega banks. On the other hand, if you go to, are you a member of a credit union?
My husband is, and I'm planning to go ahead and have an account with them.
Well, I mean, you know, is the loan only in your name or is it in both of your names?
Only in my name.
All right, so you can go open up an account with them, see what they'll do for you on a mortgage. I also would like you to go to a mortgage broker. Mortgage brokers are people who, they're free agents. They quote loans from many, many different lenders, what they could call funding sources in the business. And they are hyper competitive. So let's say your credit union comes back with offer A for you, and the mortgage broker comes up with offers B and C, both of which are more expensive. than what you have from the credit union, the mortgage broker will usually cut his or her profit in order to get that loan away from the credit union. And I don't know if you've seen on Clark.com, we have the survey of rates up to the minute from Bankrate to see what is available for you currently.
Oh, okay. Okay. Originally, when I purchased the home, I did go through a mortgage broker. I went through a bank, not one of the big four banks, and then they sold my loan to one of the big four. I was trying to refinance by myself, but I wanted to go through the HARP program to see if I get the HARP FHA loan program, because I knew I had an FHA loan, and they told me the only way to do so is to have a Fannie Mae investor. I called.
No. You're getting bad advice.
Okay.
All right. So you're with an FHA loan, you very well may be eligible for something known as a streamline refi. Have you been current on your loan for the last 12 payments?
Yes.
All right. So you can, with an FHA loan, you may well be able to refi into a lower rate with very low closing costs without having to requalify like you would normally. So you need to get back with a mortgage broker. If you were trying to do that, an FHA refi with one of the giant monster megas, you might as well have found a brick wall and beat your head against it again and again, because let me tell you, you would have about the same level of success.
Yeah, that's actually who told me this information. Was that one of the big banks?
Yeah, forget what they're telling you. So get to the credit union, go to a mortgage broker, see what's going to be the best option for you, whether it's a FHA streamline refi or a traditional refi of some kind. And the rates now are fantastic. They had bumped up a little. They've come back down again. And interest rates are the kind of thing that are so low that the time's going to come in the future that you're going to tell people, yeah, really, I really had a loan at X percent. And they're going to say, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You just don't remember things well. You couldn't have had a rate that low. Tell you, that's coming. Because it's like, Maria, when I tell people that I remember when I had a mortgage at 12.5% and people thought that was great, and they look at me like I got three heads. Things like that, things change over time, and this is a great time for you to get things done for you. So stop wasting your time with a giant monster mega bank unless you don't want to get a refi done. Ann is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hello, Ann. How are you today?
I am terrific. How are you, Clark?
Great. So you have a son who's smart enough to go to a school that I could only drive by.
Yeah, he's pretty darn smart. And the situation is he has a chance to study what he wants to go into for 2 weeks, which is 3D modeling and animation and all this stuff that I have no clue about. And I want to know, because it's going to cost about $4,000 to send him.
$4,000 for 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 solid weeks.
Now, I know Stanford is expensive, but it's not that expensive.
Well, he gets all his room and board, and he gets 3 college credits for it, too. So
is he a senior in high school?
No, he's only a sophomore.
A sophomore?
Yeah.
I didn't know you could award college credits to a sophomore.
Well, apparently you can. So my question to you is, because my Vanguard 529 people couldn't really give me a definitive answer, can I use some of his 529 money to pay for that?
There's not a 529 plan administrator in the U.S. that would say yes to that.
Okay.
Because it's not covered under the wording of what would be an eligible college expense. I'm going to read you the quote of what the statute's about. It says, expenses required for enrollment in and attendance at an eligible school. And then it goes on to say eligible schools, colleges, universities, vocational schools, and accredited post-secondary educational institutions, that's like grad school, that are eligible to participate in a student aid program. All right, so Stanford obviously would be able to participate in student aid. It is designed for someone who is matriculating in college.
Okay.
So you could go ahead and withdraw the money for this purpose. The risk is that if it's disallowed later, you lose the tax-free growth of the 529. You have to pay 10% penalty plus ordinary income tax on the gain.
Ooh.
And it's something that may not ever come up as an issue, because for the most part, the dispensing of funds from a 529 plan is like an honor system until you're subject to audit.
Right.
So it's a matter of how lucky do you feel? Because the statute is silent on a situation like your son's.
Right.
And then you're dependent on a decision that somebody makes at the IRS about whether or not you broke the rules or not. I don't know. I mean, like, if you play the lottery, how lucky do you feel?
I don't play that often, and when I do, I'm not overly lucky.
So if you look at it the other way, the money you have in there, you know eventually you're going to be able to use it in 3 years' time for truly legitimate, without doubt, without question, college expenses.
Right.
And if you leave the money in there that you would be pulling out now, it gets 3 more years of tax-free growth.
Right.
So this is one of those things. It might work, but it's not worth the risk.
True. Okay. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right. And I hope he has a fun time at Stanford. Again, my chances of ever going to a school like Stanford, less than 0. It's time for the Empowerment Zone. This is our special segment where our producer, Kim, shares stories from people who are taking charge of their lives, empowering themselves, and inspiring you. Right now, I'd like you to meet Kavantis. He's a recent high school honors graduate who's got a phenomenal work ethic. That work ethic is giving him a path to college debt-free.
I knew that I wanted to start saving money for college because I didn't grow up in a family where my mom could put me through college, and so I felt like I had to take on the task to start saving money on my own.
That's Kavantis. He's a recent honors grad from Memphis, Tennessee, and he knew from a very early age that if he wanted to go to college, he'd have to figure out a plan to pay for it himself. So at 12 years old, when an upperclassman pointed him to a job selling the Sunday paper, he didn't hesitate and he went for it. Not only has that job led Kavantis to develop a stellar work ethic, it's helped him learn about saving money. But in the beginning, it wasn't exactly easy.
It was scary because I'm a 12-year-old kid. I'm sitting on the corner and it's traffic coming from the front of me, the back of me. It's just like traffic everywhere. So I'm on this little island. I was scared at first. Then I started making a little money. Then the jitters went away immediately. After that day, it just was an everyday flow, and everything just went by smoothly. I worked every Sunday for at least 10 hours.
Every Sunday for the last 4 years. 4 years. And during that time, Kavantis became a fixture on that corner and developed a loyal following.
I had like about 110, maybe 110 regular customers. When you start making money like that, you just gotta know that you're gonna have to make sacrifices like that, you know. Especially if you got a goal that I got, that I'm trying to accomplish.
And accomplish he did.
I saved $12,000. And the thing about it is, academic-wise, I'm a smart kid, so I got a lot of scholarships. The money that I saved it's just basically for me not to have to work while I'm in college and just focus strictly on my academics. and it's just enough money to be debt-free.
Gavantas will be headed to Tennessee State University to study physical therapy.
I'm very excited about it. It's close to my family, and I can be able to go see them when I want it.
And speaking of your family, what's the best advice you ever got from your mom?
I always to keep pushing forward, no matter how hard stuff gets. Just always keep my composure and keep pushing forward.
Way to go, Cavantas, and best of luck in college. I want you to know that you can do it too. I went through college with no college loans. I worked, went to college at night. There are many ways for you to get that degree without debt.
Thanks for listening to the Clark Howard Podcast. Download new episodes every Monday through Friday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com. Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One, right after this.
It's summer, and just because you've got plenty of time on your hands doesn't mean your hands are always free. That's why I've been working on my Audible summer listening list. Discover where Audible audiobooks can take you this summer. Download your books or shows to your mobile device and listen anytime, anywhere. With an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, and comedy. Audible is your best source for summer entertainment. Start a 30-day trial and download your first audiobook for free by going to audible.com/podcast1. That's audible.com/podcast1.
AP Update. I'm Carlotta Bradley. The Zika virus has hit Florida. Governor Rick Scott.
This morning we learned that 4 people in our state likely have the Zika virus as a result of a mosquito bite. This means Florida has become the first state in our nation to have local transmission of the Zika virus.
CDC Director Dr. Tom Frieden tells the Associated Press,
Zika is now here in the continental U.S. There's a several block area in North Miami where we have confirmed mosquito-borne transmission of Zika virus.
Deputy White House spokesman Eric Schultz says these cases should be a wake-up call for Congress.
Congress has been sitting on a $1.9 billion proposal that would more fully fund federal response to this public health emergency. Unfortunately, they left town for 7 weeks without doing anything on this.
AP Update.